my name is Abby Box here on Fox 4 News, and tonight we will be doing a feature on the Communist Revolution in Russia. Let's go over to Rachel with our feature story on the February Revolution.
To catch everyone up to speed, here are a few factors leading to the political revolution. In 1905, the Bolsheviks entered the political scene under socialism. During World War I, the large yet weak Russian army suffered heavy casualties, while at home there was mass starvation. Consequently, the Russian people felt resentment towards their government. During this time, there were many demonstrations by the peasants. The biggest demonstration, which signaled the start of the February Revolution, was on February 23, 1917. At this demonstration, women workers peacefully rallied for bread and peace. Next day, male workers and soldiers joined the demonstration. This turned more violent, with many riots breaking out. On February 25th, Tsar Nicholas II ordered the leader at Petrograd to disband the riots. On February 26th, military troops fired at the peasants. Here's some authentic footage from the massacre.
We want bread. We want peace. We want bread. We want peace.
Many troops, agreeing with the peasants, mutinied and supported the peasants in numbers over 80,000. After this massacre, the Duma, the current parliament in Russia, was ordered to disband by Nicholas II. However, they continued to meet in secret. They realized that peace would only be achieved after Nicholas II was out of government. The Petrograd Soviet, a new group formed from the workers and soldiers and dominated by the Mensheviks, convened on February 27th to throw Nicholas II out of the government. In March, Nicholas II stepped down from the throne, replaced by the Petrograd and the provincial government. Alexander Kerensky was a key player in these government bodies.
Welcome to the roundtable discussion over World War I Russian politics. Today I have here with me a Menshevik politician and a Bolshevik politician. So for my first question, what are your views on World War I?
Well, I think that we should not end the war because we need to regain the territory that Germany has taken from us.
And what are your views?
As a Bolshevik, I think we should end the war and focus more on our internal politics.
So why do you want to pull out of the war?
I think the soldiers need to be protected better, and that we need to recognize them as people of our country.
And what about you? Why do you want to stay in the war?
Well, like I said before, Germany has taken a lot of our territory, and we want to regain this territory back from them, and now that we have such a large army, I believe we will be able to do this.
So who is the leader of the Menshevik Party?
Well, Kerensky is our leader, and he is he's active in both the Petrograd and provincial governments.
And who's the leader of your party?
Lenin is our current leader, and he believes that peasantry should have more power because they make up the most of the population, and so of the current population, and he wants to recognize them and give them more of the right to speak and more freedom for the people.
So what are your goals for the future of Russia?
Well, I think that we, as one of the largest countries, actually the largest country in the world at the current time, we should regain the territories that have been taken from us by the Germans and their allies in the war. And also, in addition to our former territories, our former glory, where we were once so powerful back in earlier times.
And what are your views what are your goals for the future of Russia?
I think Russia needs to close itself off and really focus on becoming a stronger government as a whole and really giving more freedom to those people who don't have a current say in the government. And we should get rid of Kerensky, and just really go for what Lenin's speaking about.
Well, we are currently out of time, but thank you for watching our roundtable discussion.
Ever been cold? Have you ever gone bald and wanted to cover it up? Well, you need a Ushanka. A Ushanka is a furry hat with ear flaps. You can buy it in bear fur, moose fur, or rabbit fur. Here's a testimonial from a customer.
I received my Ushanka just this week, and it's so comfortable. I can't even go one day without wearing it. and all of my friends want one, and you should too.
Visit ushanka.com or call 1-800-585-2558 for more details. Remember, you must be 18 or older to order an Ushanka.
Now for a feature story on the October Revolution. Since the Bolsheviks gained of power in the February Revolution, they have started to take over more of Petrograd. They achieved the majority of power on October 1st, and they are becoming a major threat to the Russian government. Fearing the election of a Republican government, Lenin and the Bolsheviks met and decided to continue on with the revolution. The provisional government tried to curb Bolshevik power by shutting down their newspaper on October 23rd, but they are still able to continue with their revolution against the government. On October 25th, the Bolsheviks started to fight back by capturing the Winter Palace and arresting the ministers there. The attack was led by Trotsky, who was the leader of the Red Army. At the same time of the attack, the Second All-Russia Congress of Soviets, led by Lenin and the Bolsheviks, was declared the new Russian government. After the Congress made a decree of peace, which declared Russia's wish to end World War I, and the decree of land, which socialized all Russian land, Lenin took control. Let's go to Lenin to see what his new plans are for the government. So what are your views on the working class?
I want a socialist ideal where the workers have the power and have freedom in society to do what they wish and are not oppressed by the rich upper class.
Do you think we should end World War I?
I believe that we should end World War I since we are fighting an empty war with no purpose, and we should focus on our internal politics more, and that we should just create peace with Europe and leave it behind us.
Okay. How do you feel about opponents of the Bolsheviks?
I feel that opposing voices to the Bolsheviks should yield to the correct Bolshevik ideology, and that any voices that do not want to yield to the Bolshevik ideology will face consequences for those actions.
What's your view on trade?
I believe that Russia should close outside trade off to the world, and that they should focus on their internal industry.
And what are your views towards the industrialization?
I believe that we should socialize industry and use government planning for production, since the government can do it better than business leaders will be able to.
Okay.
Are you growing tired of hearing unpartisan, unbiased news? Do you want your news to be more biased than Fox or MSNBC? Do you want to hear some of the best Bolshevik news reporting in a distorted manner? Then you need the Pravda newspaper. This newspaper has some of the best Bolshevik news. It even has Lenin's legendary April Theses. Let's go to a testimonial from our customer.
I love the biased Pravda newspaper. It gives all the news completely slanted towards the Bolsheviks party.
Well, you heard her, folks. The Pravda newspaper is the best. Buy yours at a newsstand nearest you today. Here's a news report on the aftermath of the Russian Revolution. At first, life after the October 25th revolution changed very little. The upper class remained calm, and the people in Petrograd were generally indifferent. In general, no one expected Lenin's new government to last. In the countryside, local politicians took power for themselves, and peasants took land as they pleased. Anarchy ruled. However, the anticlimactic revolution would turn out to be completely the opposite. After Lenin's government secured power, Lenin made it his goal to have Russia exit World War I. At first, Lenin sent diplomatic notes asking for an end to the hostilities from everyone in the war. Since this effort was ignored, in November 1917, Russia ordered its troops to cease fire and signed an armistice agreement with Germany and Austria on December 15th. In this peace offering, Lenin gave up all Russian land gained since the reign of Peter the Great. After Lenin ended the war, he turned to his domestic governing. The new government, the SPC, was faced with the task of governing a new country when communication was especially poor, and foreign armies occupied lands such as Ukraine. In addition, the Bolshevik representation in the Constituent Assembly was only 25% after the November elections decided in the February Revolution. likely due to anger from the great costs of World War I at the hands of the Bolsheviks. The Socialist Revolutionary Party, which was mildly sympathetic to the Bolsheviks, and the Cadet Party, which was more hostile to the Bolsheviks, had stronger standings in the Constituent Assembly. Because of their poor standings in the Constituent Assembly, the Bolsheviks seemed like they would have to compromise to get any of their goals met. To deal with this problem, they declared the hostile Cadet Party illegal and demanded that the Constituent Assembly give up its authority. In the only meeting on January 5, 1918, the Assembly did not give up its power, but did nothing to challenge the Bolsheviks, who watched the meeting with loaded guns. After the Assembly adjourned, the Bolsheviks declared the Assembly permanently dissolved. It was replaced by the Third Congress of Soviets, which was made up of 94% Bolsheviks and Socialist Revolutionary Party members. The Third Congress quickly made itself the permanent governing body. During this time, Bolshevik opponents started to be accused as traitors. The terms dictatorship also began to appear more frequently in Lenin's speeches. In March of 1918, Russia was signing its final treaties to end World War I. The Bolsheviks also moved Russia's seat of power from Petrograd to Moscow, in a largely symbolic move to consolidate power. Even with the symbolic power, the Bolsheviks knew that they needed an army to assert their power. Throughout the course of 1918, the Bolsheviks amassed the Red Army, made up of a corps of 35,000 Latvian riflemen that followed the Bolsheviks after the end of World War I. Another major instrument of Bolshevik power was the Cheka, or the secret police, led by Felix Dzerzhinsky. Dzerzhinsky became notorious for his mass murdering of people at the hands of the Cheka. During the summer of 1918, while the Bolsheviks consolidated power, Lenin opponents rose as well. They amassed themselves into the Whites. Czech and Slovak war prisoners from World War I also began to rebel against the Bolsheviks. The Czech and Slovak war prisoners began to make an army and moved east, capturing the Russian Trans-Siberian Railway. After the Whites and Czech and Slovak war prisoners joined together at the Volga region, they presented a major military threat to the Red Army. In May of 1918, the Bolsheviks instituted a mandatory military conscription to face this threat. This tense face-off set the scene for the Russian Civil War that would come years later. After an assassination attempt on Lenin on August 30th that Lenin survived, the Bolsheviks cracked down on opposition during a time that was known as the Red Terror. This government crackdown cemented the new Russian government, finalizing the Russian Revolution.
Thanks for watching our feature story on the Russian Revolution.